Vijnanachatusthaya. So Vijnanachatusthaya, the next stage in the evolution next stage in the evolution is man has to become the human race has to become a Vijnanamaya Purusha. So this is what Vijnanachatusthaya is. Siddhis. So all the siddhis, all the inner faculties, everything belong to Vijnanamaya Purusha, Vijnanamaya Kosha. Siddhis. Siddhis, they are justification, dangers and use. The two first chatusthayas of the adhara have reference mainly to the central principle of man's existence, the antahkarana. But there is one superior faculty and one inferior instrument, which have each its peculiar siddhi. The Vijnana or supraintellectual faculty and the body. The siddhi of the Vijnana and the siddhi of the body belong both of them to the range of experience and of divine fulfillment, which are abnormal to the present state of humanity. These are called specially siddhis because of their abnormal nature, rarity and difficulty. They are denied by the sceptic and discouraged by the saint. The sceptic disbelieves in them and holds them to be impostures, fables or hallucinations. As a clever animal might disbelieve in the reasoning powers of man. The saint discourages them because they seem to lead away from God. He shuns them just as he shuns the riches, power and attainments of this world. And for the same reason, we need not shun them or cannot shun them, because when the Vijnanamaya Kosha opens, it's a normal state, becomes a normal state for a yogin, normal state for a sadhak. So we need not shun them or cannot shun them, because God is sought by us in His world fulfillment as well as apart from the world and in the world. These are the riches of His power and knowledge, which we cannot avoid once we dwell in Him, perceiving and sharing His nature. See, if we make a union with the divine consciousness, union with the divine Brahmic consciousness, union with the Atman, union with the Brahman, then all these things are natural. You cannot avoid. This is all the natural state of you have evolved as a true human being, human being who realized the Atman, Brahman. Indeed, there is a stage reached by the yogin when unless he avoids all action in the world, he can no more avoid the use of siddhis, use of the siddhis of power and knowledge than ordinary man can avoid eating and breathing unless he wishes to leave his body. So unless the yogin wishes to leave his body, he will use all these things, but with the dharma. So that is more important. We use with the dharma. For these things are natural action of the Vijnana, the plane of ideal consciousness to which he is rising. Just as mental activity and physical motion are the natural action of man's ordinary life. All the ancient rishis used these powers. All great avatars and yogins and vibhudis from Christ to Ramakrishna have used them. Nor is there any great man with the divine power at all manifest in him who does not use them continually in an imperfect form without knowing clearly what are the supreme faculties that he is employing. All men who has developed their, if there is a Vijnanamaya opening, then everybody uses this. So this is a part of the human system. It is part of the human system. Because we have 5 distinct seeds: Annamaya Kosha, the physical body; the Annamaya Purusha, the physical body; the Pranamaya Purusha, the vital sheath or the nervous system; and the Manomaya Purusha, the mental body; and the Vijnanamaya Purusha, the Vijnana, the faculties of Vijnana; and the Anandamaya Purusha. These are the 5 distinct sheath of human existence. If nothing else, he uses the powers of intuition and inspiration, the power of Ishta, which brings him the opportunities he needs, and the means which make these opportunities fruitful, and the power of Vyapti, by which his thoughts go darting and flashing through the world, and creating unexpected waves of tendency both around him and at a distance. We need more avoid we need no more avoid the use of these things than a poet should avoid the use of his poetical genius, which is also a siddhi unattainable by ordinary men, or an artist renounce the use of his pencil. So what he says is, it is natural that we use the siddhis. At the same time, there is a justification for the denial of the skeptic and the renunciation by the saint. Or of this justification we must take note. The saint renounces because when the siddhis show themselves fragmentarily in a weak adhara, in an impurified adhara, dominated by egoism, the egoism becomes enormously enhanced. The ignorant sadhaka, thinking that he is the possessor and creator of these abnormal powers, and a very great man indeed. Just as we find an abnormal egoism very frequent in small poet and the half artist, for those who have really a great power, know well enough that the power is not theirs but a gift from God, and feel that the power of God is using them and not their power. So the sadhaka, misled by ahankara, goes running after these powers for their own sake and leaves following after God. The denial of the skeptic is justified by the credulity of ordinary men, who regard these things as miracles and invent them where they do not exist, and by the weakness and egoism of the sadhakas themselves and of many who are not sadhakas. For if they catch even a glimpse of these things in themselves or others, they exaggerate, puff, distort, and build around some petty and imperfect experiences all sorts of jargon, mysticism, charlatanism, and bujruki of all kinds, which are an offense and a stumbling block to the world. So one who misuses these powers, one who is imperfect adhara, impurity, they all misuse these things. This is a stumbling block to the world. We must therefore keep in view very strictly certain fixed principles. Number one, that these powers are not miraculous, but powers of nature, which manifest of themselves as soon as the Vijnanamaya Padma in us begins to open, and are no more a cause or bragging or vanity than the power of eating and breathing or anything else that is nature's. So it is a very normal state. Number two, that they can manifest fully only when we leave ego and offer up our petty separate being in the vastness of God's being. Number three, that when they manifest in the unpurified state, they are a dangerous ordeal to which God subjects us, and we can only pass through it safely by keeping our minds clear of vanity, pride, selfishness, and by remembering continually that they are His gifts, not our acquirements. That these powers are not to be pursued for their own sake. Fourth, that these powers are not to be pursued for their own sake. We should not seek these things for their own sake, but developed or allowed to develop as a part of a flower of divine perfection. For the divine perfection, it has to manifest within us, which is by God's grace blossoming out in us. Subject to these cautions, we have not to reject these powers when they come, but accept them, to be used in us by God for His own purpose, and not by us for ours, to be poured out by Vyapti and humanity, and not kept for our own use and pride. Vijnana, Jnanam Trigala Drishtir Ashtasiddhir Samadhir. Idi Vijnanachatusthaya. Jnanam Trigala Drishtir Ashta Siddhir Samadhir Idi Vijnana Chatusthaya. Jnana. By jnana is meant that power of direct and divine knowledge which works independently of the intellect and senses. It is not intellectual or not out of the indriyas, the five senses, the five sense organs of the ordinary human consciousness, or uses them only as a subordinate assistance. These are all used as a subordinate assistance only. It perceives the things that are hidden from the ordinary man, helps us to cease seeing the world in terms of our sense experiences, and enables us to become sensitive to the great unseen forces, powers, impulses and tendencies which stand behind our material life and determine and govern it. What we see in the ordinary human consciousness, human senses, five sense indriyas, organs, five senses, the sight, the touching, and all the five senses, for all the five indriyas, we perceive things. We try to perceive things. What we see is only according to my experience and realization, it is just 1%. What we see in the material universe itself is 1%. 99% of the universe is invisible to the ordinary human five senses, five indriyas, five senses. So it is completely, the universe, 99% of the universe is invisible to us. So when the Vijnanamaya Padma opens, all this will become normal. You will begin to see the rest of the universe in a completely different way. It perceives the things that are hidden from the ordinary man, help us to cease seeing the world in terms of our sense experiences, and enable us to become sensitive to great unseen forces, powers, impulses and tendencies which stand behind our material life and determine and govern it. Because it is these forces behind the cosmic godheads, the cosmic devatas, the devas, all this, they are all behind the material universe and govern the whole earth and the whole universe. To jnana, the whole machinery of the world reveals itself in hidden principles. The nature of Purusha, the working of the Prakriti, the principles of our being, God's purpose in His world workings, the harmony of His gunas, Brahman, Ishvara, Atman, man and beast and object, idea and name and form, reality and relation, all these show themselves to the eye that has illuminated with the sun of His knowledge. Jnana Dibhena Bhasvata. So when the Vijnanamaya Padma completely opens, all these things will become a reality. All this thing is no more a belief or a belief system. All these things are absolute reality for me. It's absolute. This is my realization and experience and realization. It's all absolute reality. So jnana is of three kinds. Jnana of thought, jnana of experience, jnana of action and satya dharma. Jnana of thought consists of three powers: drishti, revelation and swayam prakasa. Shruti, inspiration. Smriti, consisting of intuition and viveka. So these are the three main aspects of thought process in when the powers manifest. Number one is drishti, that is revolution. Drishti is direct seeing, inner faculties open up, your third eye will open up, and the chakras from Ajna chakra to Sahasrara to Mahabindu, all 10 chakras will open up. You will see, you will have Chitra Drishti, you will have visions in the Sahasrara chakra when the Sahasrara chakra opens. All these things comes under revelation. All these become a reality and you see all the universe, everything within you in the drishti, in revelation, swayam prakasa. The mind become completely light and you become swayam prakasa. Shruti is inspiration. Inspiration come all Shruti. It all comes from the cosmic godheads, cosmic devatas send their linga rupas, linga shariras, their ideas, their manifestation into the human psyche. This comes as an inspiration for the human beings to work. The art, music, theater, everything comes from this plane. But when it manifests in the impure adhara, it manifests differently in the world. But if in the pure adhara, it become a divine quality. So it become highly a divine quality of art, music and theater. Next is third is smriti, consisting of intuition. Again, its intuition comes, the intuitive mind becomes very active, and intuition comes from other planes of consciousness. And viveka, and use that intuition in a spiritual manner to use in the world. So these three things are part of jnana of thought. Next is drishti. Drishti is the faculty by which the ancient rishis saw the truth of Veda, the direct vision of truth without the need of observation of the object, reasoning, evidence, imagination, memory or any other of the faculties of the intellect. Without the faculties of the intellect, he begins to see things through direct vision, through third eye, through inner faculty, through the faculty of the Vijnana. Shruti. Shruti is the faculty. Drishti. Drishti is the faculty by which the ancient rishis saw the truth of Veda, the direct vision of the truth without the need of observation of object, reasoning, evidence, imagination, memory, or any other of the faculties of the intellect. It is as when a man sees an object and knows what it is. Even if sometimes he cannot put a name on it, it is a pratyaksha darshan of the satyam. He sees the reality, he sees the satyam, pratyaksha darshan of the satyam. Shruti. Shruti is the faculty by which we perceive as in a flash. In a flash it comes. Flash, the truth hidden in a form of thought, or in an object, or in an object presented to our knowledge, or in the word by which the thing is revealed. It is that faculty by which the meaning of the mantra dawns on the mind or on the being of the sadhaka. Although when he first heard it, he did not know its meaning, nor was it explained to him. It is as when a man hears the name of a thing and by name itself, without seeing the thing, comes to know its nature. A special power of Shruti is the revelation of truth through the right and perfect walk in the thought. Next is Smriti. Smriti is the faculty by which true knowledge hidden in the mind reveals itself to the judgment and is recognized at once as the truth. It is as when a man has forgotten something he knew to be the fact, but remembers it the moment it is mentioned to him. Intuition and Viveka. Intuition is the power which distinguishes the truth and suggests at once the right reasons for its being the truth. Viveka, the power which makes at once the necessary limitation and distinctions and prevents intellectual error from creeping in or an imperfect truth from being taken for the whole Satyam. The importance of Viveka for the purpose of man's progress in his present stage is supreme. So Viveka is very the basic necessity. When the intuition, all these inner faculties opens up, it is on how to use this in the world, how to manifest this in the world. At present, in the greatest men, the powers of the Vijnana act not in their own power. We see the great men not in the Vijnana works, but not in the reality, not in the truth, own power, place and nature, but in the intellect. It works through the intellect. Yes, helpers of the intellect and occasional guides. Directly we get an intuition or revelation. The intellect, memory, imagination, logical faculty seize hold of it and begin to disguise it in a garb of mingled truth and error, bringing down truth to the level of the nature, sanskaras and preferences of a man instead of purifying and elevating his nature and judgments to the level of the truth. Without viveka, these powers are as dangerous to man as they are helpful. So viveka is very, very important when the Vijnanamaya kosha, Vijnanamaya purusha open, Vijnanamaya padma opens up. The light they give is brighter than the light of the intellect. But the shadow which the intellect creates around them is often murkier than the mist of ignorance which surrounds ordinary intellectual knowledge. Because when this opens up, when the Vijnanamaya kosha opens up, many things happen, many things happen. So it is very important that we should have viveka. Thus, men who use these powers ignorantly often stumble much more than those who walk by clear, though limited light of the intellect. When these powers begin to work in us, we must be dhira and sthira and not be led away by our enthusiasm. We must give time for the viveka to seize on our thoughts and intuitions, arrange them, separate their intellectual from their Vijnanamaya elements, correct their false extensions, false limitations, misapplications, and assign them their right application, right extension, right limitation. Make in the image of the Upanishads. The Vyuga, or just marshalling of the rays of the sun of knowledge, Suryasya Rasamaya. So whatever comes through the opening of Vijnanamaya Purusha, we have to act through Vyuha, just marshalling of the rays of the sun of knowledge, Suryasya Rasamaya. Knowledge is not for the hasty mind, but only for the dhira, who can sit long accumulating and arranging his store and does not rush away with fragments like a crow darting off with the first morsel of food on which it can seize. So it is very important that we assimilate when these forces begin to manifest within us. Assimilate and orient ourselves with all parts of our mental being, the vital being and the physical being. Realization. Realization or jnana of experience is the perception of things through bhava, bhava of being or sat. Realizing the truths of being, bhava of chit or knowledge. Realizing the truth of thought, bhava of tapas or force. Realizing the truths of force and action, bhava of love or ananda. Realizing the truths of emotion and sensation, bliss. So this is the realization we will have when we have a union with the divine consciousness, when we have a union with the Satpurusha. Realization of or jnana of experience is the perception of things through bhava. When it becomes a real experience for you, it becomes a bhava. It's become a bhavana. It's become a true thing, reality for you. In four things. Truth of the being, bhava of chit or knowledge, realizing the truth of thought, bhava of tapas or force, realizing the truths of force and action, bhava of love or ananda, realizing the truth of emotion and sensation and bliss. Satya Dharma. Satya Dharma is the carrying out of the jnana in bhava and action. When we do action, we act according to the dharma. That is Satya Dharma. Trigala Drishti. Trigala Drishti is the special faculty of jnana by which that general power is applied to the actuality of things. They are details of event, tendency, in the past, present and future. Past, present and future of the world as it exists. Trikala Drishti is a special faculty of jnana by which that general power is applied to the actuality of things, their details of event, tendency, extra in the past, present and future of the world as it exists, has existed and will exist in time. So everything, this is a supramental time vision of Sri Aurobindo. So see, this is what supramental time vision is. Three times, vision of three times, vision of past, present and future. Trigala Drishti works in several ways. Number 1, directly without a means or excuse by drishti, shruti and smriti. Number 2, by dwelling in concentration on the object, that process which Patanjali calls sanyama, on the object, until the mind in the observer and observed becoming one. We know what the object contains, whether past, present or future, just as we can know the contents of our own being. By using as a means some external sign or some indicative signs such as samudrik, astrology, augury, etc. These sciences are worth little if not used by the higher Vijnanamaya faculties. For the signs they use are mostly indication of tendencies, and to distinguish perfectly tendencies of possibility from actual eventualities cannot be done by following written shastra or by rule of thumb. Number 4, by the two powers of Vyapti and Pragamya, which constitute what the Europeans call telepathy. So these in these 4 ways the Vijnanamaya, the Trikala Drishti reveals to us. So it is this next is Siddhi. Vyapti, Pragamyam, Aishwaryam, Ishta, Vashishta, Mahima, Lahima, Anima, Idi Siddhi. Sri Aurobindo defines it: Vyapti, Pragamyam, Aishwaryam, Ishta, Vasishta, Mahima, Lahima, Anima, Idi Siddhi. Siddhi is of 3 orders, 2 siddhis of knowledge, Vyapti and Pragamya. When this all comes, all these godheads who belongs to the Siddhi, the cosmic godheads, the cosmic devatas, the Ishvara, the divine Mahashakti, when they manifest through Siddhi, the universe is made. Dasama Siddhi in the Brahmavidya Sampradaya, this is Dasama Siddhi, 10 siddhis. Through this 10 siddhi, the manifestation happens. The universe, all the universes happen through this 10 siddhis. Same thing will manifest within a human being, human consciousness. Pragamya. By Pragamya is meant the full prakasa of the senses and the manas, by which they surpass the ordinary limits of the body and become aware of sight, hearing, touch, or more usually and more easily by mental sensation and awareness. This is Pragamya Siddhi. Of objects, number 1, of objects, schemes and events at a distance or hidden from the normal operation of mind and senses. So anywhere in the universe, any part of the world or any planets, anywhere in the universe, if you just focus with your mind, it will all reveal to you. When the yogin, when the siddhis, when the Vijnanamaya Siddhi, when the Vijnanamaya Padma completely opens up. Of objects and events belong to other planes of existence. Number 3, of objects extra belong to the past or future, the images of which are contained in the object of our study. Whatever object you study, it will all reveal. Number 4, of the present states of mind, feeling, sensation of others or of their particular thoughts, feelings and sensations, or of such a states or particular thoughts extra which they have had in the past, or of which the impression remains in the chitta record, or which they will have in the future, of which the image is already prepared in the prescient part of the chitta. So this faculty in the chitta, all these things reveals. When all the Siddhi manifest, when the Pragamya Siddhi manifest, all these things will happen. Pragamya Siddhi, when the Pragamya Siddhi manifest, all these things will happen. Vyapti. To each form of Pragamya, there is a corresponding form of Vyapti in reception or communication. To communicate what you have received, what you want to receive. By Pragamya, for instance, we can have the perception of another's feelings. By Vyapti, these feelings are felt striking on our own consciousness, or ours are thrown into another. Pragamya is the sight of one looking from from a distance or seeing an object. Viyapti is the sensation of that object coming towards us or into contact with us. It is possible by Viyapti to communicate anything we have in our system, thought, feeling, power, etc., to another, and if he is able to seize and hold it, he can make it his own and use it. This can be done either by sort of physical throwing of the thing in us into the other, or by will upon the swabha, compelling it to effect the transfer. The teacher, the guru, habitually uses this power of Viyapti, which is far from effective than speech or writing, but all men use or suffer it unconsciously. This is all happening, but we are not aware of it. When we become conscious of the Vijnanamaya kosa, all these things will become a natural state for us. For every thought, feeling, sensation, or other movement of consciousness in us creates a wave or current, which carries it out into the world consciousness around. There it enters into any adhara which is able and allowed to receive it. Half at least of our habitual thought and feelings are such unconscious borrowings. Aishwarya, next, Aishwarya. Aishwarya is the effectiveness of the will acting on object or event without the aid of physical means. Through just by will, you act on others, objects, human beings, objects, animal kingdom, plant kingdom, everything. It may work by, number one, by prasar or tapasya of the Chaitanya, straight on the object that has to be affected. Because you are united with the Chaitanya of the Divine Mother. So if you use that power to impact, you can impact any object, any living object or animate or inanimate object, you can do through the prasar of the Chaitanya. Because you are united with the universal Chaitanya, Chaitanya of the Divine Mother. By prasar or tapasya of the Chaitanya straight on the objects that has to be affected. Number two, by prasar or tapasya of Chaitanya on the prakriti, to bring about directly the result intended. Either the general world prakriti or the prakriti in the object itself. Number three, by prasar on the prakriti to bring about circumstances which will compel indirectly the result intended. Number four, without pressure, by mere thought, that is will, the ajna or ajnanam of the Ishvara. Here, your will become the will of the Ishvara, will of the Divine Mahashakti, will of the Ishvara, which Prakriti automatically obeys. Whatever you do with the Prakriti, with the nature, it will work. Naturally, it will work. Because your will become the will one with the will of the Ishvara. The last is the highest power of Aishwarya and its supreme siddhi. For here Chit and Tapas become one. Here Chit and Tapas become one. Chit Sakti and Tapasya of the universe become one. So it become one as in the will of God Himself. Ishta. Next is Icha Sakti, Ishta Shakti. Ishta is the same effectiveness of the will acting not as a command or through the thought or ajnana, but through the heart or temperament, in a perception of need or pure lipsa. Whatever the lipsa reaches out towards or even needs without conscious knowledge of the need comes of itself to the man who possesses Ishta. Ishta also expresses itself either by pressure on the object or prakriti, or by simple perception automatically effective of its aim. The last is again the highest power of Ishta and its supreme siddhi. Next is Vasishta. Vasishta is the control of the object in its nature. So you can control anything you want when you are united with the Chaitanya of the Ishvara, of the Divine Mahashakti. So that it is submissive to the spoken word, receptive of the thought, conveyed or sensitive and effective of the action suggested. Vasishta acts automatically through established control of one nature by another. or by the pouring of natural forces into the word, thought or suggestion of action so as to produce an effect on the nature of others. The latter is the lower or the ordinary siddhi. The former, the supreme or entirely divine siddhi. Vyapti is one of the chief agents of Vasishtha. Through Vyapti, the siddhi of Vasishtha is manifested. The conditions of power. It should be noted that none of the siddhis of power can act perfectly or freely so long as there is an impurity of chitta. So the purification of chitta is very, very important. Yoga chitta vriddhi nirodha. Chitta purification of chitta is very, very important for the manifestation of these siddhis and the use of these siddhis. Egoism in the thought and temperament or domination of desire in the use of the siddhi. Under such circumstances, there may be occasional use or irregular effectively of the power. A thing not worth having in itself, but useful only in training the mind to give up its own sanskaras and habitual process and accept the activity of the Vijnanamaya Shakti. Or there may be a regular or effective use of limited powers by fixed tantric processes. The latter should be shunned by the sadhaka of the Purna Yoga. So here Sri Aurobindo emphasizes on the not to use the tantric process to attain this siddhi for their own sake. This has to happen naturally when you unite yourself with the universal Chaitanya, universal Divine Mother's energy, the Ishvara's energy. It has to happen. The Purna Yogin should not try this rituals and methods which is used in the tantric processes. The conditions of jnana. It should also be noted that perfect jnana and trigala dishti are only possible by complete suddhi of the antahkarana. Manam, buddhi, siddham, ahankaram. This is antahkarana. Manam, buddhi, siddham, ahankaram. So these four aspects, four qualities have to be in a purified state. Especially the exclusion of desire and vishuddhi of the buddhi. Absolute passivity of the manas. Equanimity, equality, balance in the manas. And finally, perfected action of the powers of the Vijnana. An imperfect and irregular action of these higher powers is always possible and is possessed obscurely by many who are not yogins or sadhaks. Next is the physical siddhis. The physical powers Mahima, Lahima, Anima need not be considered at present. Yes, although belong to the dharma of the Vijnana. They act in the body and are strictly part of the physical siddhi. So this Anima, Lahima, Mahima it's all three are part of Vijnana, but siddhis of the body. Mahima means you become whatever size you want to become. You become like that, Mahima. Lahima is you become lightweight. Lahima. Anima is become invisible. Becoming invisible. This anima, all these three siddhis belong to the body, siddhis of the body. Samadhi. Samadhi is the power by dwelling fixedly of the Chaitanya on its object to extend the range of knowledge and consciousness through all the three states of waking, sleep and dream, to the realization of those tattvas of the Brahman to which the ordinary waking consciousness is blind unto the experience, either in reflected images or in things themselves, of other worlds and planes of consciousness than the material earth, or this waking physical consciousness. The consideration of samadhi may also be postponed for the present. When you attain when you dwell in the Chaitanya, all these things will happen. Samadhi is the power of dwelling fixedly in the Chaitanya. You all the time, you stay in Nirguna Brahma Drishti. This is absolutely, you are 24/7, you are in Nirguna Brahma Drishti or in Sahuna Brahma Drishti. So this is Samadhi.